I'm taking your calls tonight, but first, straight to my panel. Dr. Kathleen London, board-certified family practice physician. Judy Kuriansky, clinical psychologist. Brian Monroe, CNN contributor. He conducted the last domestic interview with Michael Jackson. Tom Ruskin, former New York City police detective investigator and president of CMP Protective and Investigative Group. Tamara Holder, criminal defense attorney. Tamara, if evidence shows that Dr. Murray has been untruthful, it would seem that he's in deeper trouble. What's your take on this?
Well, he has had diarrhea of the mouth from the beginning. He went, it's lack of a better term, but he went to the authorities with his attorney and started talking and giving his detailed timeline. That was the stupidest thing he could have possibly done. His attorney should have advised him to keep his mouth shut from the very beginning and let the police do their investigation without a statement. Now he is locked in to this timeline and what he did to Michael Jackson, and they're going to use that to charge him with, I believe, a murder.
Well, Tom Ruskin.
That kind of medicine, that deadly cocktail, being topped off with propofol, you have got to have, as the doctor said, it's got to be monitored, and monitored with the proper equipment right there on the spot. You can't walk out, make a few phone calls, and then for him to take the time, as it's alleged in the affidavit, that he made several phone calls before calling 911, that just doesn't wash. It really doesn't make sense.
Dr. Judy, go on, who's talking there?
I'd like to point out that what I find interesting about this timeline is pre-10 o'clock. Remember, the chef went on Larry King Live, I believe, and she said that Dr. Murray every morning went downstairs to get Michael Jackson's breakfast. And he didn't
But not
do that
this morning. Not on this morning. That's right.
And that is that time that he would do that was about 9 in the morning. So my idea is that something happened terribly wrong before the propofol, before he left the room for 2 minutes, somewhere in the early morning hours, maybe even in the middle of the night. And during this, post 9 o'clock, Dr. Murray was trying to undo what he'd already done, which I believe already killed Michael Jackson.
I think your caller is absolutely right. That's exactly what people do. And that's how they manipulate the poor doctors. The people manipulate, but the doctors are going to have to pay attention, and so do the pharmaceutical companies. There's another issue here, since you asked me about Dr. Murray, I'm worried about his potential of killing himself, since he's under the biggest hot seat ever here. He gave some King Kong pills to Michael Jackson over time, and this could be the biggest tragedy for him. People are after his life.
Tamara Holder, as a defense attorney, Tamara, what do you say to this doctor? I don't even understand why this doctor was allowed to make that YouTube tape last week. I really don't.
Well, here's the thing. A lot of people who are criminals, what they do is they go out and they make statements. We all know about Scott Peterson going on TV, and that's kind of the pattern.
But this doctor hasn't even been charged yet, so we don't necessarily want to call him a criminal.
Well, neither was Scott Peterson. Scott Peterson did an interview, and his wife was allegedly still missing. My point is that he is continuing to put himself out there. But my biggest problem, something that was just brought up, is that this doctor took off and left the scene after Michael was put into the ambulance. So the LAPD, I think, is making some mistakes here in the beginning. I'm not saying that they can't recover from those mistakes, but when there is a major scene, a crime scene potentially, you lock down all of those witnesses and you make sure they do not leave this crime scene.
Well, lock down the witnesses. There was a moving van. There was a moving van. Brian, jump in here. There was a moving van that came in. The family took out a lot of the stuff that was in the house. They didn't lock down the scene or the witnesses. Brian,
not at all. In fact, there were the reports that they found additional medications in some of the closets that they didn't find the first time. So I don't know if that scene was locked down at all.
It wasn't locked down because Dr. Murray was allowed to leave and go back to Texas.
In fairness to the LAPD, you didn't know you had a crime scene. You know you have an injured victim.
That's
you know
not
he's
true.
under a doctor's care, and you know he's going to the hospital. Until later on, when you determine that you may have a crime scene, there's no reason to lock it down.
That's
you don't
not
have
true.
it necessarily.
That was determined fairly early in the process.
I